Hello everyone! Welcome back to the Stitches and Scribbles channel. My name is Erin and we're doing another podcast episode today. It's been a weird couple of weeks in terms of scheduling, so I apologize that my video upload schedule hasn't been the same. I've taken a week off from either the podcast or a regular video here and there, just because the end of the school year and the beginning of summer got unexpectedly busy. I had a lot of calls for sub requests, and these actually were all planned ones. It wasn't anybody calling out sick or anything like that. The school that I work with, the teachers had a lot of personal events going on for the month of May, so I wasn't even though I saw it on paper that I was subbing so many days in May, it didn't hit me until I was looking at each weekly schedule and kind of going like, oh, I'm not going to have a lot of days at home. And then on top of that, I've mentioned this so many times on the podcast now, but I have a friend who's getting married actually this coming weekend. And even though I'm not in the bridal party because my mom is also friends with her mom, we have some special jobs for the wedding. We did stuff for the shower, and then there was the bachelorette weekend. It was one event that turned into many events, if that makes any sense. But after this weekend, my schedule should clear up and kind of go back to my normal summer schedule. So far, no one has asked me to sub for June, which the schools in the area, I think the absolute latest ones go to mid-June. But those are the schools that start after Labor Day in the fall. And then the one that I work with only has another half of a week left, just a couple days next week. So should be smooth sailing from here on out. Other than it's also the start of craft fair season. So I'll have to be doing some resupplying of my craft items. There's a couple new items that I want to try that I'll talk about further in the podcast because I did go to Joann to get some supplies for that. So yeah, it's just been a very busy spring to summer transition. It feels weird that the spring season is almost over. I don't know if I feel like a lot of people experience this where spring and fall seem way shorter than they actually are. In reality, we've had spring weather for a while, but I think we associate spring weather as 60 to 70 degrees, when in reality most of spring is 40 to 60 degrees, at least here in the Midwest. So the actual 60 to 70 warm but still chilly at night weather doesn't last very long. It stays cold for longer than we usually expect it to. And then the reverse happens in fall, where I always think of fall as the 40s to low 60 degree weather, and it seems like we get a week of that and then it drops into the 30s, especially at night. So yeah, spring and fall always seem really short, and fall is my favorite. So it's kind of disappointing that happens, but we are definitely headed towards summer weather. It's been really, really warm this week. This is my first year in a house with a yard, so watering the plants and getting that into my normal routine for the first time has been kind of an adjustment. We also had to get a new hose to make sure we could water, and the connection from the hose to the hose reel is not great because the hose reel was left by the previous owners, as well as the hose that was originally on there, but the hose that they left for us, you know how there's the end that you screw into the hose reel, and then there's the end that you screw the sprayer end onto? There was no screw on the other end of the hose, so you couldn't attach a hose nozzle. Is that what that's called? So we had to get an entirely new hose because the twisty part was not there anymore. I don't know how that happened. It looked like it was cut off. So that was an interesting discovery, and one of those things you don't think to look for. We noticed that it didn't have a nozzle on it, so we got a nozzle, or I think took an extra one from my parents. but then there was no way to attach it, so we had to get a new hose too. So we've been watering in the morning. Most mornings. There have definitely been a couple times that I've forgotten. And I'm trying to grow some new plants. So far, the ones that are doing really well are the ones that like clearly a previous owner planted. So we've got a patch, 2 patches in our yard where mint leaves are growing back. And they did the thing where they like buried a pot in the ground and then planted the mint in hopes of containing the mint, but having it look like it's just planted in the ground. If you've ever planted peppermint before, you can't contain it. That is not an option. It will spread everywhere, which I don't mind because I use peppermint a lot and I'm hoping to dry some of it out and use it to make tea this year. But that's coming back really well. It has definitely escaped the pots that it was planted in and is just filling in, but I don't mind if it takes over a little bit. It's also a natural bug repellent. They don't like the smell, I guess. I've got some lavender coming back up that the previous somebody planted. It wasn't us. That's coming back slowly but surely. We've got a couple of rose bushes that came back by themselves. We've got hosta everywhere. We had a couple of very lonely tulips that came back earlier in the spring. I think that there were maybe 2 of them, possibly a third. And they were like bright red. So those were pretty. And yeah, I started by myself. I started chamomile, which I can tell it's doing something. I see like little tiny green leaves coming out of the soil all the time, but they don't seem to get any bigger than that. And chamomile is one that you plant early, and I thought I planted it early enough, but it doesn't seem to be doing a whole lot. And then I got a they called it a seed balm from Target that had lemon balm, more mint, and I think lavender and maybe sage in it. That's finally like starting to do something. I planted lemon balm that has a couple of tiny sprouts. My mom brought over a couple of seedlings, one of which she like told me as we were planting it that it was probably going to die because all of hers had died. And that was a poblano pepper, which does in fact look dead now a couple days later. But also a tomato plant and a zucchini plant. I had some beet and carrot seeds that I threw in the ground just to see what they would do, but I don't have high hopes for those. And what else? I've got marigolds in a couple of pots, so we'll see what happens. I do have a basil growing inside that I need to transfer to outside, as well as a couple of other peppermint seedlings that I've been growing inside since winter. So those are my garden plans. I know that's probably not why you came to the podcast today, but that's what's been on my mind lately. Yeah, so it's definitely been fun to have a yard for the first time, because up until this house we always lived in apartments, and I always tried to do a container garden in our previous 2 places. I didn't really do it in my first apartment because there was no balcony. But the last 2 apartments we did have a balcony, and I've tried to do container gardens in both of those. But the most recent one got no sunlight, so we were very limited to what would grow out there. And we had a couple of plants that did really well. We gave away wildflowers as our wedding favor, like wildflower seeds, and those did pretty well in the shade. But I had to keep like turning the pot because they were growing like out through the balcony railing, so I had to keep turning it so that it would grow sort of evenly. But yeah, that's the garden update that you definitely weren't here for. So let's talk about some crafty things. So first thing, I finally finished that blue and gold shawl that I've been working on for ages, but of course I forgot to take any pictures of it and gave it away already. So that has gone to the mother of the bride for the wedding that I've been talking about on the podcast. She was so excited to get it. It looked perfect. I was really happy with how it came out. If you want to see what it looked like, just go back to a previous podcast episode. It was a pretty consistent stitch pattern, so it wasn't like there was a fun border at the end that you didn't get to see or anything. I was just continuing the same stitch pattern from beginning to end, so you can check that out on a previous episode if you're really curious. But it was really fun to A, finally have that done because it did take a very long time. But B, that means that I can like actually work on some other projects, which is even more exciting. And I think I've said this before, but I really do genuinely love making things for people, especially people who I know will appreciate it, and that was definitely the case here. But I am someone who likes to work on a bunch of projects at once, and recently I've tended towards preferring projects I can finish in just a couple of days or even in a single day, as you've seen with the One Day Makes series that I've kind of been doing. So working on one shawl, it was actually two very similar shawls because I made one for the bride as well. But those both took a very, very long time, and I'm excited to be able to work on some smaller projects or just projects that I can pick up and put down and not have a timeline for them necessarily. So after I finished that shawl, I decided to do a couple other projects, one of which you would have seen in my previous video posted to my channel, but this is my butterfly dragon. I made him from a pattern from Crafty Intentions, and there is a dedicated video to this guy on my channel, so it should be the one most recently posted before this podcast episode. But I had so much fun making this little guy. I know that there's a book of all the dragon patterns, and I am very strongly considering just buying the book. I think it's on pre-order now, though. I don't know if the book is actually out yet, so I'll have to check on that. But I think this turned out adorable. If you didn't watch the video, I'm planning on making him part of my Renaissance Fair costume. So the goal is to pin him to my costume so that he sits on my shoulder like this. I might put a little bit of wire in to prop the wings up so that they're a little bit more visible from the front. But I had a lot of fun making him. The wings are stiff felt that I painted and then sewed on, and then all of the other elements are crocheted, except the safety eyes, obviously. And those are glitter safety eyes that I've just kind of had in my stash for a couple weeks now. I did buy them originally for craft fair projects, although I forget what I used them on originally. I think a dinosaur that I got. But yeah, this is one of my recent finished objects, and I'm really, really proud of it and very excited to use it as a part of my costume. My other finished object for the week is this hexagon cardigan. And this is a short-sleeved hexagon cardigan, and I've made 2 of those before, I believe. So this one was made, it's gigantic, with Lion Brand mandala yarn, I believe in the color Groot. It's a very long hexagon cardigan. Again, short sleeves. I do have a tutorial for a short-sleeved granny stitch hexagon cardigan on my channel if you would like to watch it. It's on my hexagon cardigan playlist. But this was kind of a just for fun project. I did work on it a little bit while I was working on at least the blue shawl. This was kind of my like break project to give myself something different to work on. But unfortunately, I think I finished it just as it was getting too warm to wear it. So this will probably be part of my fall wardrobe for the coming fall. But I love these colors. I tend to wear a lot of olive green, and lately I've been really drawn to kind of orangey and brown tones, which is not something that I was really interested in the past. I've always been kind of a like dark jewel tones person, but more recently I've been really liking kind of earthy tones, so like olive greens, browns, like dusty colors, even like the yellow that I have on today that's kind of a mustardy, not bright yellow, but like a soft, like sunflowery yellow. I've been very interested in those kinds of color schemes lately, so I figured this color of mandala yarn was a perfect addition to my wardrobe, and I'll probably get a lot of wear out of it once it cools down a little bit. So those are my only 2 finished objects other than the blue shawl that I obviously can't show. My other projects, I do have a lot of whips, but I haven't like picked one to be the next one that I'm really going to dive into and finish. So I'm not going to show any whips today because none of the other ones have had any progress made on them, to be honest. I do have like my birthday scarf that I've been working on for a while. That'll probably be my car project for this upcoming weekend. Yeah, that's that's kind of it for whips. I'm very excited to be moving back into a phase where I can work on like random stuff. I actually have one custom order that I need to do too, which shouldn't be a super long one like the shawls, and it doesn't need to be done until like beginning of July because it's for a Ren Fair costume, but it's the mushroom like wizard hat that one of my friends ordered from me. So that'll probably be my next project. So you might see that in a video or two coming up. But moving on to the Joann haul. So I am still kind of on a soft yarn ban. I make exceptions for buying things for craft fairs so that I have enough supplies to make plushies and stuff like that, because I don't want to. There are some items where like if I run out of them, it's fine. I'm probably not going to restock them again. But plushies are the ones that seem to sell the most consistently, so I kind of always need a supply of blanket yarn in a bunch of colors. But I also want to make some new plushie designs. So when I saw that Joann had like a doorbuster sale going on for Memorial Day weekend, I went and made sure to pick up a couple of new colors to try. In addition to that, I got a couple of other things that I'll just go ahead and show you. First of all, what brand is this? The Gildan Soft t-shirts. I have really been loving. I am kind of at a point where I'm considering just donating all of my graphic tees because I do not wear them anymore except as pajamas. I'm much more likely to go for a solid color t-shirt now than I was before. Don't know why that change happened, but I found that the best places to get like solid color t-shirts that are comfy are Old Navy, which is where this one is from the men's section, as well as the Target men's section. But for really cheap ones, the soft tees from Joann, or I believe they have the same brands at both Hobby Lobby and Michael's. I've really been liking these. I had already gotten a black one and like a sagey, not sage green, but like kind of a distressed green one. It wasn't like a solid dark green. It had like the heathering. It was like a heathery green color. That's the word I was looking for. So I picked up a couple more. I actually also picked up a solid black, but that one I wore already and it's in the wash. But I got this kind of wine color as well as a gray. So those will definitely probably make appearances in the next couple of videos because they're really soft and really comfy. And I bought them kind of oversized so that I can wear them over bike shorts as my like summer uniform. Because I'll probably spend most of the summer either like working outside or being a basement troll down here because it's nice and cool in the basement without air conditioning. So that's kind of the summer wardrobe goals, is staying cool outside but then being comfy in the basement. So that's what these are for. They did have some more colors that I really liked, but they didn't have them in the size that I wanted, so those are just the ones that I got for now. There was also a sale on florals, and I did go with my mom, which is why I only have one of these. But they had these little wreaths as well as a bunch of other florals for buy one, get two free. So my mom picked out two she liked, and then I picked this one, and because I wasn't going to pick out three by myself and she only needed two. So I got this little wreath. It'll probably go on our dining room table for the summer, maybe with like a jar candle in the middle for some ambient lighting at the dinner table. But that was a really good sale on florals, and if you've, like, I feel like most people buy fake flowers in some capacity, but I'm definitely gonna like make a mental note of that for future years, that sale goes on during Memorial Day, because artificial flowers are like very expensive, especially things like wreaths. Like this originally, I guess it's not terrible, but originally this was $13, so if it was buy one get 2 free. We got 3 of them for $13, which means that they were like $4 and some change approximately. So really good deal, but they had like some of their full-sized wreaths in that category, as well as the like artificial hanging plants, like bigger floral items. So definitely a really good deal, especially if you're looking for like, you know, hanging plants to go in 2 corners of a room, or like you want wreaths for your front door and your back door, like stuff like that. It definitely would have been a really good sale. I just wasn't like prepared for that. I hadn't done any like inventory check of the stuff that we already had, so I stuck with just the one mini wreath for this year, but I definitely made a mental note to go back for that next year because that was a really good deal, and I'm a little sad that I missed out on it, but also I didn't really have anything in mind that we needed, so I'll, as I've now said twice, keep it in mind for next year. But the other thing that was on sale that I was really interested in was the Bernat blanket yarn. I use that to make most of my plushies. There's a couple odd ones that are made with a different yarn. But I really like it. It makes the plushies way bigger than they would be normally. It makes them soft and fluffy. So I got some new colors, but I'll explain the patterns that I want to use first. So I found 3 new no-sew patterns actually on Instagram that I want to try. One was a crocodile, which if you watched some of my previous podcasts and like vlog videos, I made a bunch of frogs for my last vendor event. So I can use some of the same colors I already had for the frogs to make some crocodiles or alligators, whatever the pattern was supposed to be. Because I would just need more shades of green. But when I was looking at colors at Joann, I kind of wanted like maybe some minty tones that I could do crocodiles with too. The other pattern I saw was a no-sew whale that can also be a narwhal if you add a horn. And also with those I wanted like kind of the minty greens but also blues. And then the third design I saw that I really liked and I'm hoping it does really well was a no-sew axolotl. I don't know when axolotls became so popular. I feel like they've been around for a while. And I've considered making them before, but because they have the little like frills on their faces, I didn't really want to deal with sewing on all those extra pieces. But I found a no-sew axolotl pattern. So I'm hoping that that one will be good and will work for what I want to do. So I decided when I was picking out colors that I was going to stick with like pink tones for the axolotls and like bluish greens for the whales, knowing that like I had some other greens for crocodiles as well. So I'll start with the boring ones. These are mostly for the edge of the axolotl frills as well as the whale stomach because those are supposed to be white. I got these 2 off-whites and they look the same on camera, but this one is the regular Bernat baby blanket and this is the Bernat baby blanket sparkle. Some of the other colors I got were also sparkly, so I wanted to make sure that I had a sparkly cream as well. I have been liking the sparkle ones a lot lately, so that's something I'm definitely going to keep in mind. The next one I got, this is one of my axolotl colors, and it's showing up like very washed out on camera, but this is a light pink. It's called Baby Pink, and it's in the Bernat baby blanket. So a light pink for axolotl. I'm running out of space to put things down. And I also got this like corally color for axolotls. This is the Bernat baby blanket sparkle in the color Rose Glow Sparkle. So it has those like glitter strands in it. This is actually the color I think is going to look really cute as an axolotl, but I wanted a non-sparkly version too. And I generally, like when I'm making plushies, I like to have 2 color options for the same plushie design. So like for my mushrooms, I do a teal and a red. For the chickens, I do a cream and a speckle. For the frogs, I had a couple shades of green. The octopuses, I just make whatever I have leftovers of. Those don't really have a specific color. The bees, I did yellow ones, and for a while I was doing pink ones. So I like to have at least 2 colors for each design. And then for the whales, I got these 2 colors. So this one is the Bernat baby blanket sparkle in the color Seafoam Sparkle. So it's a nice kind of minty green. And then I got the Bernat baby blanket in the color baby blue green, and it's a pattern. So this is the one that I thought could potentially be cute for a crocodile or more frogs as well. Even this one with the like minty colors. But that was kind of the thought process there in terms of what colors to buy. It was 4 very specific amigurumi patterns. So what else can I talk about today? I don't really have much else going on now. I'm kind of in this waiting period now of seeing like what my schedule is going to look like over the summer. Obviously I won't be subbing over the summer, but I do have some other events that I'm hoping to have. At some point my husband and I would like to have a housewarming party because we haven't done that yet. But we were waiting for it to be nice out so that we could use our patio that I really love. If you watched the butterfly dragon video, you get like a brief clip of my patio because I was working out there for a while. So we're hoping to do that sometime over the summer. Ren Fair season starts very soon, so I've got to start like actually getting costumes together as well as finishing that one custom order for my friend. What else is going on? Yeah, I want to do like another party kind of towards the end of the summer, maybe beginning of fall, and do a book themed party. I've always kind of had this idea of like wanting to be in a book club, but not really wanting the commitment of being in a book club. Also, I feel like part of the drama of book club is like everyone has to read the same book, which means agreeing on what book to read. And I don't know if that's something I'm into. I tend to like read books very quickly, but also I will discard them very quickly, like especially because I read now primarily on my phone or on my computer through the Libby site, which is just a way to check out ebooks from your local library. I will like I always have the max amount of holds on my account that I can have. I usually have at least 5 books checked out because if my holds aren't ready, I'll go through just what's available in a genre that I'm feeling at the moment. But I tend to like at least half of the books I check out, I return early because I didn't like it, which is fine. That's the beauty of having so many ebooks at your disposal is you can do that and it's not like I spent money on them. But anyway, I wanted to do a book party where we didn't necessarily all have to read the same book and it wasn't structured like a book club, but still like a celebration of reading, if that makes sense. So I was kind of inspired by all of those TikTok videos of people like bringing cocktails or drinks or snacks that fit a theme. So I've seen ones where everyone like brings a drink inspired by their career or like they're all watching a movie together, so everybody brings like a different snack that has to do with the movie, like that kind of video. But I wanted to do it for reading. So I think what I want to do is tell everybody to bring 2 used copies of the book of their choice, because I don't want anyone spending like a crazy amount of money to participate in this event, and a cocktail, mocktail, snack of their choice that goes with their book as kind of like an intro. And then at the end, we'll do like a random drawing to pick books. So you go home with 2 books that you chose from the books that everybody brought, if that makes any sense. So I'm hoping that I'll get to do that, but that has like a fair number of scheduling things involved. So I'll keep you posted on if that actually happens. I think it could be really fun, and it's a very like repeatable party. Like we could do some variation of it continuously for a while, and I just think it would be really fun. So I'm kind of excited to now have a living space where I feel like I can do stuff like that. We really never had people come over in our last apartment, but a lot of that was due to COVID stuff, because we moved into our previous apartment in April of 2020, so like peak shutdown time. So I feel like we never really had anybody over at that place. And then we were living at my parents for a while, which they told us we could always invite people over, but like that still feels weird sometimes to invite people over to your parents' house. We did do it with a couple of friends, but It's not like we were going to throw a big party or anything. So now that we finally have a space where we feel like we can have a party, the possibilities are kind of very exciting. So yeah, I think it's going to be a busy summer, even though I won't have a lot of like work scheduled things other than like the farmer's market that I go to every week. It'll definitely be full of events, it sounds like. I feel like it's going to be one of those summers where every weekend gets taken up very quickly. So it'll be fun, but I'm kind of in that like anticipatory waiting stage. I feel like I always do this where like whatever the closest event is, I feel like I can't do anything until that event is over. So now it's the wedding that's coming this weekend. I feel like there's so many like house things I want to do, but I keep in my brain going like, oh, well, like I have to wait till after the wedding to do that. And I don't, like, obviously I need to pack and stuff for the weekend, but I don't need to like push things off because of the event that's happening. So let me know if you do that too. If you have an event coming up, does it like prevent you from doing things because you're so focused on the event? Anyway, that was a very random tangent. I've now been talking for over half an hour, so I think it's time to wrap this podcast up because I'm feeling very chatty and very high energy at the moment, so I should probably go take advantage of that and actually get some stuff done. So thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video and want to see other crafty videos on my channels, podcasts, as well as vlogs, one-day makes, tutorials, and like quiet craft with me sessions, I release podcasts on Wednesdays and I release other videos on Fridays, so make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you can be notified of all my crafty content. If you want to follow me on other social media, that information will be in the description box below so that you can check me out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.